Tom LaVecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory Podcast. I just want to give a quick shout out to those that are on audio. I know Jason is still on his break. I took back over and want to appreciate for everything that you're doing. We're ranking really well on iTunes, Spotify. Please share this with a friend so we can increase those ranks. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. For new YouTube viewers, which we're not doing as much on YouTube, but we're starting to, welcome to the New Theory Podcast. And if you haven't, check out my other podcast, Armchair MBA. Today, we got a very special guest, Peter Szalontay. Szalontay. Just told me I screwed it up. Szalontay, who is joining us from Australia. And I'm really excited to have this guy on, and there's a few reasons why, which we'll talk about in a moment. He's the CEO of DataMilk. He has a background as a mathematician, so he's super smart, unlike me. An ex-Googler, we're going to ask a little bit about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about data and AI. But here's the thing. AI is the farthest, or artificial intelligence, just in case you don't know the acronym, the new frontier. We're going to talk about that today. Peter, welcome to New Theory Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great and really appreciate you having me on.
So mathematician, why study math to a larger extent?
Well, you know, as it goes mostly in life, there's certain people that tend to inspire us to do things
Yes.
So I had some really good teachers in middle school and high school. I also come from Budapest, originally from Hungary, an environment where, you know, we didn't have access to really computers, robotics, all kinds of equipment that was needed. We really had pen and paper, and that was our way to be creative. So I grew up in that ecosystem, and I really thank some of those teachers that instilled the love of math in me for my life.
Where did you study? Did you study in your home country or in the U.S.? Where did you study?
So I was in high school. I was in Budapest, and then I moved to LA when I was 18 years old. So
wow,
left by myself to go to the other side of the pond, and I studied at UCLA actually, which for those that don't know is the birthplace of the internet. And it has a very, very strong math department with fantastic mathematicians like Terence Tao, who is well known for a lot of theoretical work, but sort of on his more business things and the things that people know about him. They wrote Netflix's original recommendation algorithm, for example.
Really?
So there's a lot of sort of data science, computer science, and mathematics and internet colliding
Virgin.
Into very interesting innovation.
All right. So I'm going to ask this question, and if you please answer in a lay fashion for us lay people. We all know what an algorithm is, but we really don't know what an algorithm is, right? Like I'm always looking to hack the YouTube algorithm, the Google algorithm, right? Can you just dumb it down for us? What is an algorithm? And also maybe give us a little bit of a hint when you see algorithms in play. How can you maybe learn a little bit about them and help crack them a little better?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally speaking, algorithms are in mathematics a term which describes effectively a map.
Okay.
A map of how to get from point A to Z.
Like it.
So when it comes to, for example, the YouTube algorithm, the question that the computer is asking is, give me a map, which is an algorithm, to figure out how to rank results to display them to the end user. Yeah. And so in your world, and frequently when people talk about SEO and things like that, they're thinking about trying to game or hack or improve on their results to get higher in the scores. And so they're asking about the inside of how the algorithm works, because if they can understand the map, the decision making of the computer, then they can sort of play the game better.
Got it. Now, you as a mathematician, or maybe recommendations for lay people, when you try to, and we're dealing with front facing, we don't have access to the math and the engine, but are there things you can look out for or recommendations if I'm trying to do better on YouTube? What are some of the trial and error things, or what are some of the things that I can do to? I'm not going to reverse engineer an algorithm at this level, but what can I do to maybe help a lay person who's trying to do better on YouTube or help their business out to try to rank better on SEO and tackle an algorithm? Any general macro or even micro recommendations you may have?
Yeah, sure. So you can think about it the following way. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who actually works at YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And what is their goal? What is their objective? And generally, you'll find that for companies like YouTube, I used to work on search actually, not on YouTube, but I
Really?
I know quite a
You
bit.
work for Google Search?
I did, yes, I did.
You're hold on, let me slide the envelope over.
So generally speaking, one of the core objectives that we used to have at
Yeah.
Google and at YouTube more than at Google, is to drive engagement, right?
Yeah.
So effectively, the more watch time you can create on the platform, the more advertising opportunities you'll have, and
Yeah.
as a result, the business of YouTube will thrive. Um, and so, as a engineering person or a product manager or engineer on that team, what you're going to be looking for is, how can I enhance the selection of the content that is displayed to users to maximize that time of engagement that users will spend, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so you'll be looking out for certain signals that you can extract from how people are behaving with the existing content that they see, to see if they do certain things, is it predictive, or if the content is a certain way, is it predictive of them interacting with it even more, right?
Interesting.
And then at YouTube, that really comes down to actually looking at how people engage with the content, because that's going to be the best way for you to know, because everything else you can sort of game. You
Correct.
can game the titles,
A
you
cool
can
thumbnail,
game.
clickbait. Yeah.
That's it, right? But what are these sort of metrics of engagement?
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing is, how long do you watch the content?
Average watch time. Yeah.
Yeah. The other is probably, do you sequentially watch more of that content over time, right? Because it's one thing for you to generate some extra time spent today, but if you can generate some extra time spent over the lifetime of that user, then that
That's
multiplies into much more.
correct.
And there are going to be other short-term engagement signals, like, is this person signing up to follow? Is he commenting?
Yeah.
Are they liking the whatever it is, right? So those are going to be sort of the top things, and so really the funny answer here is that beyond certain tricks that you guys are likely all doing today, which
Yeah.
is doing things like, if you like this, it's more about actually thinking about the content. you know
Yeah. Got it.
doing this is like a necessary evil, but the biggest decision of whether the person will actually engage with you over time will be the quality of your content, the choice of that content.
Watch time and things that are indicative of going on the platform and staying on the
That,
platform.
that's right. There's then another aspect of things, which is discovery in general, right?
Mhm.
So if you can drive more data into the AI on how much people are engaging with you, right? Because if no one's engaging with you, then the system has to guess. If it's guessing, you're likely not in the place where you're in your own sort of fate. So
Yeah.
if you can drive engagement on those videos and generate that data for the algorithm to pick up, to know that this indeed is real content and is good content, which is basically the cold start problem, right? It's going to be so difficult in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but once you're there and your engagement metrics are good, you should be in a good place. I hope that helps.
No, that helps out a lot. So now a little rhyme to my reason, or reason to my rhyme. AI, artificial intelligence powers all this, right? So you spend some time at Google. You eventually were you the founder of DataMilk as well as CEO?
Yes, yes. I'm
So
I'm
talk
one
to
of
me. Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about DataMilk, and tell us a little bit about. Well, first, tell us a little bit about AI. So I want to kind of continue the build. So
Sure.
people on stage, they want to listen to Peter. Give us a bit about what is AI exactly, and then what brought you to be one of the founders and CEO of DataMilk.
Yeah, so AI, it's basically, let's build on that metaphor of the map. Yeah, let's say you're on sort of a treasure hunt. Yeah, or maybe everyone remembers the little labyrinths that we have to complete, and you draw
Yeah,
lines. You
correct.
know, and sort of the old school way of providing directions is the way that we humans think. Walk up to the next street, turn right, you'll find the dog on the next corner. When you see that dog, if you're in a place like Hungary, you're gonna turn left. And then at the yellow house, you're gonna sort of go behind the fence,
Yeah.
right? That's an algorithm. It tells
Okay.
you how to get from point A to
Point.
point Z. But
Yeah.
certain problems are way more complex than that, right?
Correct.
It's not a two-dimensional thing when you're trying to draw through the map to arrive at an end result, but it's a very complex multi-dimensional space. Arriving at that answer cannot be described really with go straight, turn right, and so forth. It would just require way too much code, right? You
Correct.
have to write, we call this if statements in
Correct.
engineering.
Yeah.
If this happens, do that. When you get to corner, turn right. It's the same thing, right? So at some point, this code becomes way too bloated, meaning in order to just describe a simple path through a multi-dimensional space, you have to write tens of thousands of lines of code. And that's
Correct.
not scalable for a human engineer to actually fathom. So
Yeah.
the solution to this problem is AI, okay? Where you basically say, I don't know the exact rules of how you should get from point A to
And
point
you.
Z,
Yeah.
but I can describe to you the dimensions of the problem. Yeah? So what matters is there a crosswalk? Are there trees? Are there dogs barking? The colors of the houses that you see, and so forth and so forth. And I want you to get to the end goal as quickly as possible. And now I'm going to let you, machine, try a bunch of different paths and figure out how to derive the right path without me having to write down exactly how you get there. Yeah. This is what AI is really good for, and why it scales so much better than our old school engineering solutions where we would write a lot of bloated if statements, because now we can look at a short piece of code and read, okay, the colors of the houses matter, the crosswalks, the sizes of the roads, and so forth. I can read that and I can understand what the engineer is trying to do. Versus imagine trying to sift through tens of thousands of if statements that
Yeah.
says, like, if the house is yellow, but there is no crosswalk and something else, that just doesn't sort of scale for human understanding. So that's what machines are really good at, right? They're these great calculators that can understand these multidimensional problems much better than humans. And so we're leveraging that calculation capacity and writing code in a much more understandable, human understandable way to sort of continue with progress.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about DataMilk.
So DataMilk ultimately, and there's many sort of ways to describe this, but it's trying to do the following. What we're saying is that on the internet at large, people are interacting with websites and apps a lot, but most of those websites and apps completely ignore what they're doing on them.
Yeah.
Okay? So uh, today, if a company is doing well on using the behavioral data of the visitors to the site or the app, they're looking at where they're clicking. Okay.
Yeah.
But when we are interacting with an interface, we're doing way more than that. Yeah. On average, people spend 5-10 minutes on a website before they decide to buy something.
Correct.
From that, we extract maybe 10 things that they did with the site, because they did way more. They looked at a certain part but they didn't click there. That's a very important signal. That means they didn't like that you know um, So there's all this data that's being left on the table. And in fact, these companies are bad at listening to their users. Yeah. And so our job at DataMilk is to enhance their listening capability.
Interesting. Is it real quick? Is it more to sort of cut you off? But is it more to look at what they're doing versus what they're saying? Meaning, like I may go to your site, right, and I may interact, and I may abandon a cart, right? But based off my data and my predicted behavior, if there was a red bell or a green dress or whatever that is, I would have a higher propensity to convert, and whether to use more previous data that I come in with or learn as I go along for me and a broader group. Is that essentially what you're talking about?
That is right. That is right. That is
Cool.
right.
Cool.
In that particular session that you're in, if you're just really good at observing the user, you can react in real time to their actual true needs, right?
Yeah.
And you're not able to do that if you're not good at observing them, right? And
Correct.
on a fundamental level, the problem that we're solving is we're creating an easy way for these companies to listen and to collect this data. And then we offer a way for them to use this information to correct for their currently incorrect predictions. So
Interesting.
what happens
Over time, if they get it wrong, they're like, "Oh man, I learned," and they should eventually get it right.
yeah, so a very simple example, right? Let's say the CEO of Awesome Shop uh, is a strong-handed individual
Yeah.
who really, really believes that Awesome Sweater is the killer product and forces a big portion of the team to push Awesome Sweater aggressively on their website in their marketing, right?
Yeah.
What you will notice in the data, inevitably, is that Awesome Sweater will sell more than any other product. Yes? Because if you put it everywhere in front of people,
Yeah.
then Awesome Sweater will be the top seller. But
Correct.
that doesn't make it the best selling product, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so this is what a lot of these websites are incredibly susceptible to today. They're susceptible to over promotion because they're not looking at what people are effectively rejecting on the website, right? As a simple example. And it goes beyond that because it matters if you put a gigantic picture and cover the whole homepage with awesome sweater, right? And then you put some other stuff below, of course that gigantic thing will have a really high click-through rate. And so you have to understand how the UX is constructed in relation to all the other pieces of the UX, understand where the attention of the user is actually going and what is their acceptance rate on certain proposals that are put in front of them to interact with those things, right? And that can enable you to get out of this self-fulfilling prophecy or this bad loop of what you promote is what you think sells the best. You're just reinforcing your own little bubble of thinking.
Okay, and then over time. So again, so because it's backed, AI backed by machine learning, it should get smarter over time. So if therefore, when I visit to the site again, or I'm a new person, you have a better chance of engaging me the way I want to be engaged versus how you want me to be engaged.
In fact, it can happen in real time.
Oh
It can
wow!
it can happen on your second page or third page, and this is a problem not just for small businesses like tiny e-commerce shops, but
Correct.
huge companies like Netflix. So if you go on the Netflix homepage, I encourage you to do that on your phone, and you
Okay.
pull it up. What you will find is the majority of the page will be pulled up by the time that you load the page,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the way that you actually go through the page is you start from top down. So you start looking
Correct.
at things and you're going to make choices, and you could already leverage that choice to load the next content. And companies like TikTok have made their whole business on that, right?
Ah.
TikTok is all about observing you in real time and feeding you the next content based on that because they don't need to load the whole page immediately. It's an infinite stream of
Okay,
things. You're
so
just
really quick. I grab my TikTok, right? And I'm scrolling through, right? And I put it down. My wife grabs it and we're on for 3 minutes each time, will the stuff that's served up to my wife after 3 minutes be different than mine? No.
It could easily be. Now, I don't work at TikTok, and I don't know if that makes sense for
Pretty
TikTok.
badass. I didn't think it. I thought it was just like, oh, by user or by whatever. But who knows?
No.
Maybe I'm flicking up quicker and she's watching more and liking more.
That's
And
going to
maybe
be more predictive, right? Because you know the person is engaged and is doing something. It doesn't just have to be you or your wife. It could be you in a different state of mind. You might be in a sports state of mind right now, or you might be in a, I don't know, funny, cute animal video state of mind, right? Well,
Wow, this is interesting, Peter. Okay, so I'm on your website, and so it looks like there's a few different aspects to your business. So it looks like you guys are a little bit around UX, user experience, and then putting in AI into that. So for those listening, right, who use you guys? Is it an individual website owner? Are you an enterprise solution? Who can call DataMilk, and who are your current customers, and who do you want your customers to be?
yeah, so enterprise is an ill-defined term. People think of enterprise in different ways. AI needs data, yeah. So if you're a small shop and you're trying to increase the traffic going to your site, you focus there. It's like the cold start problem that we described on YouTube.
Correct.
You cannot leapfrog steps. You need to do simple math before you get to calculus. That's how it works. Yeah.
Correct.
So focus on building an audience. Focus on building a set of people that want to come to build your store, and they generate sufficient data. But when you are there, and we consider that point about 1 million visits a month, yeah, from that moment, you can start leveraging AI to do some of the things that we're describing. Yeah. And if you come to DataMilk,
because you need the data.
Yes. And if you come to DataMilk at that point, you will be one of two types of customers. The first type of customer will be a medium to potentially lower enterprise customer.
Yeah.
Is frankly, in the current environment, especially as we're heading into a recession, is going to be tight on resources. Correct. Engineering resources primarily. Yeah. So for these companies, we have a solutions business where we actually go in and we implement a bunch of changes that increase their profitability on the side. There are companies that are a bit bigger and they have more complex business logic behind the scenes, and they are more engineering driven cultures in many ways. For those companies, we actually have an API that we provide so they can leverage our data collection and our prediction facility, but build anything they want on top of it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the two modes of operation that we currently have, and it's sort of split between the two, how we earn our keep today.
Interesting. Okay, so you have an opportunity you are looking to build an e-commerce brand, right? Would you rather have one content creator and 9 AI guys and gals, or would you rather have 9 9 content creators and only 1 AI professional? Which would you rather have?
Look, I believe again that AI is still today a larger medium-sized and enterprise play.
Got it.
Yeah. For small businesses,
yeah,
you have to start with your core unique value prop. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but if you're an AI company like us, I would rather have 9 AI engineers from the beginning. If you're an e-commerce, if you're an e-commerce shop, you should likely focus on your product in the beginning.
Got it.
Yeah, because ultimately people buy you for that thing that you manufacture, or maybe it's a digital product, but whatever it is, that thing needs to be unique to you. It needs to be the best in market. And people will come and buy it. They will come and buy it even from a non-optimal solution, non-optimal store, because they won't have a choice to go anywhere else. Yeah. And at some point, you'll hit a mark in your business that you're going to be focused on optimizing. Yeah. And at that point, you can come and hire 9 AI engineers or work with DataMilk and do part of the work, which is probably going to be more financially accessible in many ways and makes more sense. Right? But you have to separate those things in your head, and you can never stop focusing on your core product. The core product is always going to be the most important thing, but you should use optimization strategies to feed the machine so you can build your core product even better and build even more moats around it.
Now, I want to get your opinion on this. We don't do as much e-com as we used to for a digital marketing agency, and I had an e-commerce client, and they were 80% Amazon at the time, and they were 20% website and other. And they were happy with it. They're like, you know what? I give up my 17% or whatever it is. We do a really good business. I guess they eventually sent the stuff in for FBA, and they were happy. They were profitable. They built in the margin, and it made things click, right? But where I got frustrated as a and it was hard to, and then they're like, well, I want to do SEO and do this all other stuff. And I said, if I can beat your 17% acquisition cost, then it's scalable. If not, you're going to lose money. And the person just was a little financially frugal, and they didn't understand that, like, to acquire a client outside of Amazon is going to be more than 17%. So they weren't willing to get off the proverbial boob, right? Now, the struggle I had with is you get the benefit of the Amazon AI, you get the benefit of the Amazon experience, their credibility, and you make sales from it, right? But as an old school guy and a new school guy like yourself, you don't have that relationship. You don't know what you don't know. And you don't put a little slip in there and say, check out my website. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you don't have that front-facing relationship, and you don't get that valuable data. For a medium size, say an $800,000 a year e-commerce site, how important, like, should you give up points not doing on Amazon to have that relationship and to get that AI data? Or that's not scalable yet? You need to be in the millions to say, you know what, then get away from Amazon. I just want to see where you land on that.
I think it depends on what you're selling. That's the very basic answer to it. Amazon has a different value prop to its customers than the brands that you will find on Shopify.
Yeah.
Amazon's value prop is that I can open up my phone, I can press a button, and I will get something to my door the next day. Yeah.
An hour. Yeah.
Like, you'll notice that I have a beard. That's because the Amazon shaver did not arrive on time before my trip to Australia. Yeah. For these brands that are on Shopify or other platforms, or they're building homebrew sites and apps, it's really about something entirely different. Yeah. Interesting, the intersection of these things is subscription. Let's get to that in a second. But
correct.
The majority of the money that's made in these D2C brands is on things that are occasional purchases. Yeah. Okay. So
we call them dabblers in marketing.
Dabblers, great. But it's like, I need a present for my mother. That's probably the classic example, right?
Yeah.
I don't really want to go to Amazon and buy the same thing that everybody else is buying, right? Yeah. It's just not the state of mind that I'm in. I'm looking to do a little bit of research. I'm looking to connect with a brand to make a decision that this indeed is a product that I would be happy if my mother opened on whatever the holiday is that you celebrate in your house. Yeah. It's a different state of mind. And you're not going to do that on Amazon. And that's what these brands are for. And that's why they build. Yeah. Subscription is interesting because it's kind of in between the two. It's like, I connect with the brand, but what I buy is a recurring use.
Yeah.
And that can sort of for me personally, I don't really like subscriptions, so I don't understand that state of mind as much. I feel like I'm constantly being screwed out of my money, and I don't get the flexibility that I need to purchase
Yeah.
things. At that point, I feel it's easier for me to just go on Amazon and click every time that I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get it why it's good from a business perspective because you lock the customers in. But I think along these lines of these dabblers versus everyday sort of use when there's a lot of commoditization in the market versus unique products. If you think along those lines, you know where you fall really,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna be able to sell toilet paper online with the D2C marketing campaign. Right? There's just no
Right.
reason anyone's going to click on your ad and and
Right.
and and buy it from your website. Uh, and it's going to be really hard for you to differentiate your exclusive
Mhm.
uh, neon uh, space dress, on Amazon, because where are you even going to put it?
Yep.
Which category are you going to put it in the taxonomy of products on Amazon? So
Exactly.
therein lies sort of the big difference.
Well, before we conclude, you bring up a good point. I don't like subscriptions myself, but I love them as a marketer. Right? Is AI at a point that I go to a site and I'm Mr. Subscription, right? Peter goes to a site and you're just give me my stuff, no nonsense, let me buy and get out, right? And I'm not going to coupon, and I don't care about average order value. I'm okay with a higher price. Is AI at a point that when you and I go to a site that they'll serve up a subscription to me, or push a subscription to me, and you push something to you and maybe not discount it? Is AI there yet, or is it still kind of being worked out from the micro level?
Yeah, so I think if you're thinking about, I will sort of go back to DataMilk. If you think about DataMilk and the problem we're solving from a really generalized perspective,
Yeah.
you're trying to predict the right next step for the person. Yeah.
Got it.
So if
Yeah.
the options are sell an individual product versus sell the subscription now,
Yeah.
you can leverage AI based on the behavior of the person on the site until now to determine if it's the right moment to push them a subscription versus an individual product. I think we're absolutely there in
Interesting.
in in programming that decision rather than relying on some strange if statements, if person looked at 6 products or if they have come back 13 times to the site before, push subscription to them versus, but that goes back to that metaphor of the map, right? You don't, like you and I couldn't figure out the 16 signals that matter.
Yeah.
You would just want to throw everything into the problem and
Correct.
let the machine figure it out.
Yeah, I love it. Listen, Peter, the CEO of DataMilk, I'll put a link to your site below. For those on audio driving, how can they find you, Peter?
Those on audio, look, you can Google DataMilk anytime.
Beautiful.
You can also find me on LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to follow me. You can reach out to me. I'm a very personable person. We're here to help on our site. Actually, if you do have the traffic needed, you can come. We'll perform a free audit of your site, and we'll give you all kinds of recommendations on how you can improve the user experience. Of course, we as a company can also help you make that happen, but that's entirely free, and there's some great content for you to chew with your team. So Google us.
I'm excited. Have a great time. Peter is streaming in from Australia. Have a great conference. For those on audio, please subscribe to New Theory Podcast. For those checking us out who's new to the show on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you so much for being on the New Theory Podcast, Peter.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.